guys, and welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, my name is Emma. So I'm going to be talking about the books that I read in January. I almost said March. Anyways, I have my bullet journal and I wrote some stuff in it, which maybe that means this will be more structured and make some more sense than my other wrap-ups. Don't count on it. Okay, so the first book I read I do own, but it's under a stack of other comic books, and comic books get heavy, so I didn't want to take it out. But that's Odd and the Frost Giants by Neil Gaiman. This book focuses on Odd, who is like a Viking. It focuses on Norse mythology a little bit, like he ends up kind of going on an adventure with Odin, Loki, and Thor in order to get back, I almost said Ravka. That's so not. What is it called? It's not Mjolnir, that's the hammer. Midgard is Earth. Asgard. Asgard was taken over by the Frost Giants, and so Odd helps them get it back, and he's like all thrifty and crafty and stuff. So I really enjoyed the mythology part of it, obviously. And I liked that it touched on a few heavy topics as well. I feel like Neil Gaiman does that really well. So does Alice Oseman, two of like my all-time favorite authors. Have like sort of generally lighthearted books, or they're funny, or they have happy moments, but there's some like deep topics in there and you're like, wow, okay. So Odd was a great character. He like, I loved, it was like, what are they called? Like a motif or something? I don't know if that's right, or just something that kept being repeated throughout the story was his insufferable smile. How people just absolutely hated it, because like once he broke his leg, they expected him to like be sad and like upset, and all the village people were like, oh my god, he's still smiling, why? Stop smiling. And it's kind of like, damn, okay. I can see why some people in the village would have a problem with him. He's like snarky and cocky, I guess, I don't know, but you gotta love him. Like he's such a great character. He's really cool and he's really smart and he's got an insufferable smile, and don't we all enjoy that? I also really enjoyed the illustrations. I can't remember, Chris Riddell does a lot of the illustrations for Neil Gaiman's books. I don't quite remember if he did these ones. I think so, because it's got a familiar style, but I could be totally wrong. The cover will probably say the illustrator's name. And I gave Odd and the Frost Giants 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. Next up, I read Ancient Magic by Philip Matizak. So this is a nonfiction book talking about ancient magic. You guessed it. It's sort of just talking about the history of it, and it does talk a little bit about certain ways you can do things, but he makes it seem very far-fetched because it is like gathering very, very specific ingredients. Not like Eye of Newt, but like basically the equivalent of really oddly obscure ingredients. He talks about the history of like sort of like a main 5 sorcerers and then he talks about like magical creatures and love spells and hate spells and curses and stuff like that, and he kind of just touches on all of it. And I love Greek and Roman history already. I think it's a very interesting thing, and I also love Greek mythology, and like Roman mythology is like, and I also just felt like I was learning. Like I learned that holy moly is a plant. It's a plant. Isn't that bizarre? How bizarre. Oh my god. I'm not even on TikTok. Like I don't even have TikTok, but I know that. Oh, and I gave this 4 stars. Next up is Clockwork Prince. I have a whole video where I'm reading this and Clockwork Princess. If you want to hear my thoughts on this, I have the video up there. However, it is filled with spoilers. So just to sum it up really quickly, I gave this one 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I love Jem so much. So much. And then I gave this one 5 stars. I still love Jem. Next up, I read Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen, that's her name. I so did not like this book. I really did not enjoy it at all. And I was looking, and it's like guessed or like considered to be one of her earliest works. So like that makes sense in a way. It's one of her first books. She's still like learning the writing stuff. But I just did not. I could not. And I think maybe I just didn't get the point of it. Like from what I understand from like other things that I've read about it, it's supposed to be like satirical in a way. But I don't know, I was confused. Basically, like the main love interest that seemed like really cool was also kind of an ass. Maybe back then they weren't, or maybe I'm just like really done with people kind of acting like assholes, and so it like grabs my attention. I don't know. Either way, I just did not like it. I gave it 2 stars and then I sold it to a bookstore. And like Isabella and her brother, chapter 9, I don't remember a lot about it. But what I do remember is that that's when Catherine started to finally realize that Isabella and her brother were just not good people. And I was like, finally. Because it felt like for so long they were doing shitty shit. And she was like, oh, such a sweet friend. Oh, she's just trying to care after me. It's like, no, she's not a good person. Before I finished that one, I forgot. I actually finished The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. I also have a video where I read this. It's non-spoilery, so if you haven't read this yet, you can go ahead and check it out. I'll have it up above. I really enjoyed this. Like, I had so much fun with it. I had a really difficult time trying to explain how her writing felt, but the closest conclusion that I could come to, there was a lot of like cacophonous sounds, was that it was like seductive without the sexy part, just like really drawing you in. It was almost difficult to read at some points because she struggles a lot with loneliness in it, and it's just really hard to read sometimes because she just constantly has to leave people, and it's just like really sad. One other thing though, she lived from like 1600s-ish, and then this book, like the furthest we get is like 2014 or something like that. She lived for so long, and she didn't travel very much. Like, we see France, where she was born, and like all around France. I think we see Germany, we see Italy, we see America. She vaguely mentions like Spain or Portugal, but like she doesn't go like any more east at all. Living that long, how can you not go and travel to like fucking, I don't know, Japan or Turkey or just anywhere, even like Greece? Like there's so many cool places to visit outside of the Eurocentric, and I mean I guess Greece is kind of, you know, anyways, outside of the Eurocentric and like America thing, outside of like super Western places. But yeah, I was kind of just like, dude, the only excuse that I could think of is like as security started getting more advanced, if your face was forgotten a lot, I don't know how she would like get through security, you know? Like I don't know exactly how that would work. I mean, she's really freaking old, so she could figure it out. I totally would. That sounds like, visit as many places as you can, you know? You're living for like an infinite number of years, come on. So that's one thing that I think was really missing from this, because it would have been so cool. And it would have been like, at that point, it would have been like a perfectly well-rounded book. That was something that I didn't talk about in my vlog that I really wanted to address here. I gave it 5 stars. It's like, with that, the more and more I think about it, the more I'm wanting that. And so it's more like a 4.75, but it's gonna be 5 on Goodreads and stuff. Overall, I really enjoyed it. I tabbed it a lot and just like, I felt for a lot of it. It made me feel a lot of things. Okay, so next I started reading The Removed. I got this in a Book of the Month book box. I just did not really like, I think it was the writing style that got to me. It just felt like kind of redundant and just not great. Like it was really simple. With The Removed, I was so excited for the story, but I just couldn't get into it no matter how much I tried, because the writing just kept pulling me out of the story. It felt a lot like telling you everything instead of showing you. So I ended up DNFing it after about like 75-ish pages, and it's a pretty short book. It's like only a bit over 200, but I just didn't want to continue with it. Next up, I read Sea of Strangers by Lang Leave. I really enjoyed this a lot. I recently got this in the book haul, which I'll link up there. I haven't come up with a star rating for it yet. I think it's around 4 stars because there was a lot of poems in here that I like. I think there were just like a couple that I was just like, what? Or just didn't hit the mark for me. Some of them also were a bit out of my depth. Like they were on like serious relationships and like that sort of thing. And it's like, I don't know. So, I mean, like I can imagine, but there's some things where I was just like, okay. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a like and comment down below if you've read any of these and what you thought or what you're currently reading. I would love to know. I hope you guys are well, and I will see you next time. Bye.